Well, good evening, everyone. This is Night Mike, and I'm your host, Michael Gant. We're really happy to have you in the stream tonight. I've got a very special program for you. You can already see a URL, a computer address down there, internet address, and I'm going to tell you what that's all about in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to make just a couple of program announcements about some upcoming things that are going on. Next Tuesday morning, that is June 10th, my special guest is going to be Glenn Olson. He is the Northern New England Director of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he's going to be on talking about their work in Northern Vermont and the work that they're doing there. And I think you'll find it a fascinating thing. Good organization, been around a long time. I just met Glenn a few months ago, and I'm really happy to have him in the studio with me. The other thing I want to remind you, just do me a favor. I have, as I mentioned last week, because of a variety of circumstances, I had to move my website. And since I was moving and I redesigned it and got a whole lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to ask my folks and my friends to do me a big favor. Go to the email address, or not the email, but the URL you see on that picture there, www.mkgant.org. And down at the bottom of the homepage, the page that'll come up that you're looking at now, there's a subscribe box. I would love to invite you to subscribe to my blog's post. You'll get an email every time I post something to the blog site. But the more important thing is that the way algorithms work, the more subscribers I get, the higher my search comes up, the quicker my search comes up. When people do a Google search or Safari or whatever, so you'll be helping me a lot as people are looking for me on the internet. So if you do that for me, I would be so grateful. Thank you very, 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 very much. So tonight, I have a couple of very special guests. It's rare that I have a pair of guests, but there's a reason I have a pair. It is two sisters, and their name are Abigail and Anna Chechile, and they are headed to Cuba. Welcome into the studio, young ladies. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a little overworked, a little overheated, and a little underfed. But other than that, I'm doing just absolutely great. It's been a good day. We've been doing a lot of stuff. So Anna and Abby are members of our church since birth. Mm-hmm. And before, you guys have been, all right, now, okay, I know you should never ask a lady's age, but how old are you?
I'm 18.
And I'm 17.
Okay, 17 and 18. Mm-hmm. And you're here tonight because you're going to go to Cuba on a mission trip. And I want to talk about that. And I'm going to say to folks right away, the first thing I want to do is I want to let people get to know you, what you do, what you're interested in, what you do for a life, what you're excited about, all of those kind of interesting things. But I'm going to tell folks that up in the top right-hand corner of your screen is a QR code. And if you scan that with your phone, you're going to be taken to a place where you can actually donate funds to help Anna and Abby go to Cuba on this mission trip. And if you don't have a phone where you can scan that QR code, we got you covered. Go to the URL down at the bottom of the page. I'm going to leave it right up there so you can, if you write like I do, you can write it legibly and get to it on your computer, and you can do that. And I would encourage you to do that. We've got two gals who are going on I just was talking to them before we came on the air. I am so jealous that you are going to Cuba. I've traveled all over the world. There's one thing about Cuba that attracts me, I think, as much as anything else, is they only drive all of the old cars that I grew up with, cars that were made in the 1950s and the 1960s. And I've already begged them while they're down there and they're going through the streets to take pictures of these old cars and bring them back to me or send them back to me. But Anna, Abby, go first. Tell everybody who you are and what do you want us to know about you?
I'm Abby. I graduated from high school last year, and currently I'm working at the Vermont Country Deli, which a lot of our members of our church also work at.
We almost own the place, don't we?
Right. I work on the counter staff, and I'm a supervisor there. Some things that I like to do, I like to read, and I love to garden.
You like to read and what?
And garden.
Oh, and garden. I did. You and Barbara, my wife, should get together. She's an avid gardener. She loves to garden. Okay, next.
I'm Anna. I'll be going into my senior year of high school. So some of my interests are mainly sports. I mainly play soccer and basketball, and I also love listening to music.
Yeah. What kind of music do you like?
I listen to a lot of like folk and pop. I really like Noah Kahan.
Whoever that is.
Yeah.
He's a Vermont.
I listened to you say I like basketball, and I know the family you came from. I played basketball with your older, with your dad. I was going to say with your older, but gosh, I still think of your dad and your uncle and your aunt. I played basketball with them when they were kids, and now here you are, all grown up, working and heading off to the mission field. That's really good. Now, which one of it is you come? It's Abby. You work in the. Which one of you comes up on Wednesdays and works in the food pantry?
I do, yes.
Oh, there you go. You guys, you look so much alike. I get you confused. I really do. But you really do look. You could be twins.
We could be, yeah.
I know. You really could be. So tell me how it is that you ended up, and the trip is when? It's July what?
It's July 5th through the 11th is when we'll be in Cuba.
July 6th through the 11th.
5th.
5th.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You'll be gone. Let's see. That's it's a week-ish.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And what are you going to be doing there?
Well, first off, we got involved by our uncle, Jonathan, who you mentioned.
Yeah.
He's a pastor down in Connecticut, the Congregational Church of Salem. And this past Christmas, he was chatting with some of our other family members about the trip that he had been working with some missionaries that were a part of Mesa Global Missionaries. Their names are Polly and Ledesky. And they had already planned the trip to Cuba, but they needed a couple more members to go with them. They had only scheduled 4 men to go, so they were looking for women, and we were the perfect fit for it.
Well, I guess you are.
Yeah.
Our parents really encouraged us, and they looked at each other like when Jonathan mentioned that he was looking for some girls, and kind of knew that it was our turn to go on a missions trip.
Right.
And so we told them that we would talk about it and pray about it. And so after doing so, we decided to join them and get started on the process, like getting our passports and stuff. So.
Did you have to take a lot of shots? Are you getting a lot of inoculations?
We actually don't have to take any, which is kind of weird. I thought we were going to get some, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad for that, because I travel to East Africa a lot, and folks feel like a pincushion after they get all the shots they have to take to travel to that part of the world. Well, that's great. So Jonathan's going on the trip, right? He and his what's his
son, Joseph.
Joseph.
He's
yeah.
16.
Yeah.
Oh my! Is he really 16 already?
He is, yeah.
I know I see him in camp. He's in YPI in camp up in White River, but 16, he'll be driving.
I know, crazy.
That's really scary. I am getting so old. I have to tell folks, I've known these girls literally since before they were born. They have grown up around us, and you've really grown up. And now, so what will you be doing specifically? Do you have assigned tasks? Do you know what you're going to be doing? Or are you going to kind of make it up as you go along?
We will be working with a vacation Bible school group while we're down there. It's going to be around 60 children. That's what they're expecting.
That will be primarily in the mornings. In the afternoon, we're going to be doing community outreach, so visiting locals, talking with families and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day we're also going to be doing a trip with the local youth there. It'll either be outside or inside, depending on the weather, but just getting to know them and connecting with them. And then also we're going to be visiting with a pastor and encouraging him.
That's cool. That is really cool. You know, I remember when Americans could not travel to Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I also remember when it really wasn't legal for a church to be operating in Cuba.
Yep.
What in the world has happened? I did not realize until you said you were going on a mission trip to Cuba. I didn't even realize that was possible.
Yeah, we had to get humanitarian visas to be able to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Tourism is still not allowed in Cuba from the United States because Cuba and the U.S. don't have formal relations right now.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, our phones, our credit cards, none of that will work while we're down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's almost like it was when I first started traveling to Africa. I had no communications with home at all. The first couple of times, first several times, because their phone system was so poor that you couldn't make a phone call in a reasonable way. And then, thank God, eventually they got cell phones, and so now I can sit on the back of a pickup truck and talk to my family on a cell phone as easily as I can crawl across town. But so that your cell phone won't work there, your cards won't work there.
We have to bring all cash while we're there.
Yeah. And wow, I see Andrew is in here. Andrew is saying, I don't know if you gals can see this or not, but my son Andrew, who's a family friend, he says, Uncle Andy misses you.
Oh.
Yeah. He's in here almost every week, and Robin is in here, my daughter Robin, and there's a bunch of other people in here, but they're incognito. You know, I can see numbers at the top of my page that tell me how many people are watching, but I don't know who they are until they actually make, and this is a hint, I don't know who you are until you make some kind of a comment or something in there. So what are you thinking? You're flying down and you're going to land in this place that really most Americans don't get a chance to go to. I think that's really, really wicked cool.
Yeah, we'll be flying into Havana, which is more city and highly populated, but we'll be actually staying in Remedios, which is more central Cuba, and it's a bit rural. So it'll be quite the experience.
Yeah. Well, now in Havana is where you're going to see all those cars I want you to take pictures of.
All right.
Well, I mean, that's similarities to many, many years ago when I was going to Kenya, because I couldn't use cards or anything like that. I had to convert everything to cash, and you'll have to probably do that, right? You'll have to get local currency when you get there. But so there's I'm trying to formulate a question here. So you two girls are how's the rest of the team made up? Who are the rest of the members of the team?
It will be our Uncle Jonathan, our cousin Joseph, and another member of their church. His name is Ricky.
And then you two.
Yeah. And then us. Yes.
Okay, so it's almost a family affair.
Yeah,
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, almost a family affair. Well, I know your dad has he made one or two trips to Kenya? I think he made maybe one trip. Yeah, it was a great help. I know he led a team. He and your mom. I think your mom went too, right?
No, not to Kenya.
Yeah, I'm disremembering who all was on that trip, but and haven't they been on another mission trip somewhere? Did they go? Were they part of a team that went to Brazil?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Well, you guys are becoming a real missionary family. That's really super. That's really super.
Our dad also went to El Salvador, and that was one of his most transformational trips that he's taken. He still talks about it a lot. It's one of the things that inspired us to go to Cuba, in especially being young people and never having left the country before. It's something new experience, but with the people in our family who have gone, we've had good role models of how to get out of faith.
Yeah. And also your dad and your grandfather went to Atlanta during the Olympics as missionaries, if I remember. Robin just reminded me that they went to Atlanta. I think so. Did Rebecca go? I think the whole family went.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Of course, this was before you weren't part of the family.
Right.
But that was the year, if I remember right, that they had the bombing at the Olympics.
It was.
Yeah.
He's told us a story about their leader. They were on their way to the place where the bombing happened to evangelize, and their leader just had a feeling from the Holy Spirit of like, you know what, we're turning around, we're not going.
That's so cool.
Yep.
That is so cool. I had a similar experience in Kenya one time. We had a group. As a matter of fact, it was the first team I ever took to Kenya, and we were traveling to a rural area, and I had exactly the same experience. The Holy Spirit just spoke to me and said, turn these people around and take them back to where you came from. And we found out later that there actually was a group of guys, bandits, that were going to attack the village where we were staying and rob us that night. But God turned us around and sent us back. Let me tell you something. If you're going to be on the mission field in an area that can be hostile, you need to have your spiritual ears tuned in. And I'm going to pray for that for you. But excuse me, but you really, really have to be tuned in. But you're with a good guy for a team leader. I know him well. And anything else that you want to talk about? All right, let's talk about this. I said we have the QR code, we have the URL down there. How are you financing this trip? Are you independently wealthy?
No. No. It's all by donation. Each person has to raise $1,900 to cover the cost of travel and food and water. Housing.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get resources in Cuba, so they've already started working on pulling together food and water because Cuba is a communist country. So everything is still rationed. So we're very grateful for the people who are hosting us down there.
So you've got good people there who are preparing for your arrival.
Yes.
Okay, so that's $1,900 each.
Yes.
That you have to raise. Yeah.
And
so, all right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If we get like more donations, they're also going to go to supplies that we're going to be bringing. We're hoping to bring like medicine, first aid, color like crayons and stuff, markers for the kids and stuff. So stuff like that will also be necessary to bring and stuff for them.
So you could use extra money is what you're telling me, other than your $1,900. I'm kind of leading you into this because I know how these trips go. I've run a number of them to different parts of the world, Cameroon and Kenya and Uganda, and it's not just the money to go; it's to get materials to work with and everything. So I'm not going to ask you how far away you are from your goal. I'm just going to say to folks, if God speaks to you, you need to make sure that you scan that QR code up there, or you go to that URL at the bottom and see if you can't support these girls. I know that we're going to be pitching in some support from the church, from your church family. I'm hoping that Barbara and I are going to be able to help out a little bit, but it's really important when a person decides to become involved in reaching the world. In this day and age, quite honestly, I don't know how any other way to say it. It ain't cheap. Travel and as it is, I know it is when I travel to most of the places where I've traveled, I have to provide everything.
Yeah.
The folks where I work are pretty poor, and so when I have to go to when I go to Kenya and I take a group, I have to pay for lodging. I have to pay for transportation if we rent a van or a transport or anything. If we have air flight, whatever it is, I've got to raise enough finances to cover all of that, because I'm hearing you say the people you're going to be ministering to are not going to be able to contribute much in the way of support for this thing. You're going to have to bring that with you, or at least the financing for it. There's a fellow, Woody Scott, from down in Salem, Connecticut. Good evening, Woody. It's good to see you in there. Woody comes in on my live stream quite regularly. I met him when I preached at your Uncle Jonathan's church some time ago, and met him on Facebook. We're buddies on Facebook, and that's pretty cool. Woody, it's good to have you in here. So let's talk about a little bit more detail the kinds of things you're going to have to carry with you. What is it that you're going to have to? I would imagine you're going to have suitcases that are just filled with stuff. Like
Yep.
What kind of stuff?
We're going to be bringing some over-the-counter medicine, like simple painkillers, because they can't get these things in Cuba. Anything we bring for ourselves will also be leaving,
Right.
such as like any stomach medicine, because sometimes when you go to other countries,
Yeah, boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, boy.
we'll also be bringing extra clothes to leave in Cuba. Jonathan is going to be bringing a bit of different texts for the pastors to learn from and read from. We'll be bringing supplies for the VBS, so markers, crayons, glue, because everything is still rationed down there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you won't really be able to get much of what you need there at all. You're going to have to go in with it in a suitcase. I don't know if you've talked to your uncle or not, Jonathan, or not, about what you expect. Because sometimes, and maybe this is just for the folks who are watching, this is something we can pray about. Sometimes when I've taken things in, like medicines and all of that stuff, I've run into issues with customs that they usually when I was in like East Africa or something, there was always a demand for bribes. That if you'll slip me a little bit, I'll let you through. So just for the folks who are following you on this thing, I think that's a matter that we need to pray about, that you don't get held up with customs, because you're going to have suitcases full of pills and medicines and that kind of thing, and that makes radar go up. And so I think we need to pray about that as well.
One of the things we were briefed about was customs, especially the books that we're bringing, because everything is still monitored by the government. So we'll have to split up the books that we're bringing instead of having them in one suitcase, so that it's less suspicious. Get confiscated. We were also briefed that we're going to be put through interrogations individually. And some simple things that you wouldn't really think about would be, we can't call anything we bring donations. We have to call it gifts for our friends, because if we call it donations, it's considered that we're saying the government of Cuba can't provide for their people.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's clever. You really have to, sometimes the words you use are very, very important. So Debbie McNeil is asking how long you're going to be there. Give us the dates again for when you're traveling.
We'll be there from July 5th to the 11th, so about a week.
Yeah, about a week. Yeah. And okay, Debbie, there's the answer to your question there. Any other things that that you've been, as they're preparing you for this trip, that you found interesting, that you found a little nerve-wracking, or what? Are you feeling pretty relaxed?
Definitely a little nervous, mostly about getting in and out of the country. We've also been asked to share our testimonies, which we've not really had to do before, because most of the people.
How have we let you get through without doing that? Before you go, maybe we'll give you practice at home.
Okay.
Yeah, you just gave me an idea. So go ahead. I'm sorry, I just interrupted you.
Oh no, you're good.
We were also told to try and bring some pictures from like our home life, so to show the kids, you know, be like, oh, this is how we live and stuff. So
yeah, take a family picture, show them a picture of your whole family. You're like our family. You've got a big and growing family.
We do.
And, yeah. So, wow, I'm running out of questions. I never run out of questions.
One more thing we could talk about is a little bit more about Cuba's past. In Cuba, the Communist Party took over in 1957.
I remember it well.
So a while ago, but they were under Fidel Castro, which I'm sure a lot of people know that name. And they didn't pull back restrictions until about the 1960s. And the church that we're going to be working with, Misión Mundial, had to operate underground for about 40 years. The church was illegal. And so I think that's going to be a big cultural difference, is that we've grown up in a church that has been proud and open and even evangelizing with the gospel, whereas down there we're going to be around people who have had to hide their faith for years. And Christianity took a giant hit during that time. Before, it was estimated that there was about 90% of the population was Catholic or Christian. And now that figure is down to about 60% of the Cuban population. So definitely one of the reasons that we're going is to encourage the church in Cuba and make sure they know that they're not alone. Yeah.
I would bet you, now based on the study that I do, I would bet you that the percentage of Christians is a lot higher than is published.
Probably.
Because I will tell you why. Persecution never kills the church.
Right.
It always strengthens it. It always strengthens the resolve. It always, and you know, they tell us that, for instance, in China, where it's highly illegal to even, you know, to be a Christian, own a Bible or whatever, that probably China is right now the world's largest evangelical church in the world, but it's mostly underground.
Right.
And I have a fellow, a church that I've been following the last several years, and the police came one day and arrested their pastor, took him to jail. All of the people went to the jail, and one of the guards said to them, "You're talking about courage." One of the guards said to them, "Well, where are you going to have church now? You say you can have church anywhere. We've locked up your church. Where will you have church now?" And one of the elders said, "Well, I think we'll just have church right here." And they just started worshiping God and sharing the word right there. They threw them out. they threw them out of the police station because these people are fearless. And I think what you will find is that the people in that culture have become far less fearful than people in America or Western Europe or whatever, where we tend to be so afraid of how somebody's going to respond to us, or how, you know, if they're going to make fun of us, or we're going to lose our job or whatever. People usually in those kind of cultures are not afraid. They are just not afraid because they've lived in it for so long. So it's if I'm understanding what you're saying now, it's permissible for this church to exist. They don't have to be underground anymore.
Yes, they don't have to be underground anymore. However, there are still a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, what kind of restrictions? You know?
It's like super easy to like close churches and like to get fines, and for like pastors to be imprisoned or get harassed and stuff. So there is still like a lot of worry and like how the government is going to react, and like you have to be super careful with how you approach the government, like from church's point of view and stuff. So
right, yeah.
A lot of times they can't open new churches, they can't get permits to, so some churches still have to operate illegally in Cuba.
Yeah, wow. So if you don't have permission from the government, you can't actually operate a church? Is that what I heard you say?
Yep.
Wow. And we complain about the regulations here.
Right.
We live in I don't think most people understand how privileged we are at this point. Because I mean, I think I want to use the words carefully, but I think sometimes we despise the liberties we've got. We take them for so much for granted that we don't appreciate. And it may, there's a lady in there by the name of Liz Cakely. She's asking a question. What about the language barrier for the team? How is that going to, do either of you speak Spanish?
We both speak a basic level of Spanish. I'm not too concerned with our Spanish level. We also have an interpreter who we're bringing with us, or paying to be there. And I think out of everyone in the team, I can't speak for everyone, but to the best of my knowledge, Anna and I have the most Spanish knowledge out of everyone.
Wow. So the kids are going to lead the way, huh?
Yeah.
I've heard your uncle speak a lot of theological language. I've never heard him speak Spanish. Okay, so you have, I learned several things in Swahili traveling in Kenya. One of the important things was to ask where the toilet is.
Yep.
That's really, really important. And how can I get a cup of coffee? Those Kenyans are tea drinkers, so it's very hard to find a cup of coffee. So I had to learn how to ask for coffee and to say thank you and you're welcome and please and all of those things. So you guys are probably going to be ahead of the game as far as the team goes in your Spanish. Now, by basic Spanish, what does that mean?
We've both taken a couple years of Spanish, and we can in school. Anna is a little bit more advanced than I am. We can both carry basic conversations about basic topics like family, food, location, clothes. Weather.
Okay. All right. Well, you're way ahead of me. I took Spanish in high school as well. I speak Spanish with a Southern accent, which doesn't help. ¿Cómo está usted? That's the limit of my Spanish. I had a wonderful Spanish teacher, an elderly lady, when I was in high school, and she thought the world of me, and she couldn't hear and was almost blind. And she didn't know that my best friend, one of my gal friends, was behind me. And every time she would ask me a question, Jennifer would kind of whisper it to me, and she would say, "Oh, Michael, you do so well on that." And I basically was a cheat when it came to Spanish. So I don't know any Spanish at all. It's I barely conquered English, But all right, let me see what else is important. Anything else you want to add that you've given us a history of Cuba? By the way, I was 9 years old when Fidel Castro came to power. That'll tell you how much. Yeah. So goes, and then I think after him it was his brother. Is his brother still the president? I think Raul Castro. I think the last time I knew was the president. You don't know, huh?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, you did your research. You just cut it off a little too early.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Okay. A little bit more about what we're doing aside from the VBS. For the VBS, we won't be teaching it, but we'll be helping and assisting. But afterwards, we will be doing more of an informal get together with a couple home visits And we're going to be doing a larger outing with some of the teens in the area, which is going to be one of the big moments for me and Anna and Joseph to connect with the youth there. We're going to be going to, I think it's a river near there where it's a big meetup spot. And we're going to be having a little bit of a more informal chat back and forth. Kind of like a sermon, weather permits. But yes,
I'm sorry, what?
If weather permits, you know. They also have the option that we can do like indoor games and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things is that we need to make sure we're flexible on the trip.
Always. Somebody asked me one time about traveling internationally, particularly to third world countries, and I don't know if Cuba fits into the third world country definition, but it's pretty close. And my response was, everything is hard. Things that are so easy here in the U.S. become very difficult. You know, the first time I traveled, I could not believe how they could exist without fax machines and copy machines and computers and all of that stuff. And I found out very quickly that they function very well without them.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, after getting used to it, I found that I functioned pretty well without them. And you can focus more on personal ministry. I love the idea that you're going to be spending time with teens and getting to know one another. That's going to be really exciting for them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really exciting for them. And for you as well. Let me run down. We got Barbara Page in here. Good evening, Barbara Page. I know you're late, but you're always welcome. Debbie McNeil says you're going to love the food.
Right. We've been told about the food. We went down to Connecticut to do a little fundraiser with their church. And we did a dinner with them, which we had some Cuban food. It was amazing. I'm sure that the Cuban food we make in New England isn't going to be nearly as close to what they make in Cuba.
It's like going to a Chinese restaurant in America. It's American Chinese food. It's not Chinese food. I often tell people, if you ever go to a real Chinese food, you'll notice the difference immediately. And I bet it's the same thing with Hispanic food. It's not the same. They don't serve the same thing to Americans that they eat normally. Debbie says, this is interesting. I don't know where Debbie's getting all this information from. Bring a spare pair of glasses with you if you have them.
That's a good note. I'll have to get some.
That's a good note. I would echo that. That's a good idea, because if you depend on your glasses,
right,
and you're in an unfamiliar, you're not going to be able to replace them while you're there. So an extra pair of glasses might not be a terrible idea. Thank you, Debbie. That's a great idea. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write that down for anybody I send overseas from now on, is take a pair of glasses with you. And I guess I would say, looking at the two of you fair-skinned beauties, you probably better take some sunblock as well.
Yes. Yep, we've been told sunblock.
Debbie said she lived in Miami when she was young, and all of her friends were from Cuba.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, well, Miami's basically Cuban in population these days. So, and Grandma's in there saying, make sure you take anti-diarrheal med. And Carol, that is a true statement. I am telling you, that is what happens is, and this is the scientific answer, is that when you go to a different culture than you're used to, you're going to be taking microbes into your body that your body has never met before.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be pretty disconcerting. I'll use that word. Your body says, I've never encountered this before. What's this in my body? I think I need to get rid of it. So yeah, I think that's good advice from Grandma Cressy. See, you got a lot of see all the information you're getting here from being on this trip. So I want to go back to the meeting with the teens a little bit. You're going to go to their favorite hangout place, and you're going to talk about what do you imagine that conversation is going to be like? What are the things you're going to be looking to share? What do you think they're going to want to share with you?
I think they're probably going to be pretty interested in how we live as Americans. I've heard from a couple different people that's always a big topic when you go overseas.
Yeah.
And so I think just sharing about how we live and just being honest and real with them.
Yeah.
And talking, and we'll probably share a bit of our testimonies in that time.
Yeah.
And ask them questions about how they live, because obviously we're not super familiar with Cuba yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's cool. I will tell you that my experience in traveling overseas is a lot of people have oh, there's Riley. Good evening, Riley. Good to have you in here with us. A lot of people in their culture are probably going to have heard things about life in America.
Right.
May be true, may not be true, may be exaggerated, may be underestimated, overestimated. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to guess that you're going to get a lot of questions about, how is it to be a teenager in the United States, that your lives are going to be so different.
Yeah,
your lives are
definitely.
good. And yet you're going to find so many similarities.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, no matter where you go, teenagers are still teenagers, and unfortunately for them, sometimes teenagers in difficult cultures grow up a little bit faster, and a lot of times have a lot more scars, emotional scars, whatever. So I would love, when you come back, of course, we're going to have you come to the church and give us a report. And I may have you come back on Night Mike and give us a report, so that our folks who don't go to our church, but I'm gonna personally, that's the part of your trip that I'm the most fascinated about. I love people, and I love interacting with people, and I've been to Kenya, I've been to Uganda, I've been to Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, where else? Sudan, Australia, Cameroon, Guatemala, and I just love meeting people of different cultures and making friends from different cultures. Now, let me ask you another question, and maybe you don't know the answer to this. Will you be able to communicate with, say, if you meet teens and you make friends with them, will you be able to, can they get letters, or I know you can't call them, but
right. We were told that we can give out emails or like a mailing address, but not to give out like personal phone numbers. Also, if they have social media, we can give them social media contacts.
Now that's going to be, you have to be my spies. You have to come back and tell me all of this stuff that makes my mind go crazy. So you're suggesting that they might have access to social media at some level?
That's what we've been led to believe. I don't know how much they have or how much internet they have where we're going, but we are going to be contacting people in a couple different places. So not just one small town. So it could be different from town to town.
Okay. Well, I want to give you some personal advice. Do not give anyone your address.
Yeah.
I think email, if you want to give them an address, give them our church's address.
Correct.
And tell them to write to you in care of the church. I just something in me says, tell those girls not to give anybody their home address.
Yeah.
All right. I try not to give out my address or my phone number because, well, I don't want to go into it, but for a lot of reasons. But I just want to suggest maybe you don't give anybody your home address, your mailing address. If somebody wants to write to you, give them the church's address and have them write a letter to you in care of the church. And that way we can preserve a little bit of your privacy in that. Email is fine. No phone numbers, no personal addresses. I don't think that's social media. If they've got access to it, I think that's probably okay too. Just make sure your social media doesn't have your address on it.
Right.
And most people don't. And I really don't think it's advisable to do that because first of all, you are dealing with a communist regime,
Right.
and who knows where that information goes or whatever. So, I Jonathan's in charge of the trip and he can advise you, but I would advise all of you not to give out your personal, not to people, the pastors and stuff. Maybe you meet there. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I do, this is just another thought. When people in Kenya want to contact me, I advise them to contact my friend who is the pastor there, and then he will communicate with me because he has access. So I typically don't give out my phone number. I don't give out my email address. I don't give out anything. I say contact Pastor Michael Chege, and he forwards. Actually, he doesn't forward everything to me. He pre-clears it or whatever, and some stuff he just doesn't pass on. But a lot of stuff he'll pass on, particularly notes from people where I've been in their churches or something like that. You have to be kind of careful. You have to be kind of careful. I think it is fascinating that you're going on your first mission trip to a communist country. I think that is so cool.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is so cool, and I really commend you, for taking that step. That's really cool. I'm going to be bragging about you all over the place. And
we were a little nervous when deciding whether or not to go, but I mean, a big focus this year at church has been bearing fruit, and we really felt that you can't bear fruit if you keep saying no to the opportunities you're given.
Boy, is that a truth? Is that a truth? That's really, everybody listen to that. Now, we've got, I guess, dozens of people in here watching tonight, but there'll be, by the end of the week, there'll be, I don't know, there could be anywhere from 200 up to more. And I'm hoping every one of them will send you a donation so that you will have ample money to go and to buy the materials that you need and those things. So, but I love it. Years and years ago, I prayed for our church that we wouldn't just be a checkbook, but that we would be invested in missions. And we've sent people from our church all over the world, and some of them still on the mission field. And that's exciting. That's exciting to me. I'm so blessed that you're doing this, and to go into that kind of Robin, where did you guys go? Now, Robin is in here, and she went on a mission trip with our teens years ago. I don't think you folks were even around at that time because Robin's old. I think you went into, like, was it Tijuana, Robin? You're in here. Tell me where you went. I know they went down into Mexico. It was Robin and Ben Polhemus and a bunch of hey, Rob, I know you went to Mexico, but where in Mexico did you go? Well, anyway, she went to Mexico, and she told me, and I don't know the background to this story, and I'm not sure. Oh, to Baja. They went down on the Baja Peninsula. I don't know all of the details of this story, and I don't even know if I should tell it or not. But she told me the only thing she learned in Spanish was, where's the bathroom and how much is the beer? And I don't know why my mission team was asking the price of beer, but maybe we can get her to fess up on that story. But I know the crew that went with them, and of course their team leaders were Carl and Verlaine Brown, who are not going to let anybody get into trouble at all. Oh, the town we went to made beer, and apparently it was important to them to know how much it was. And I'll deal with you on that later, Robin. So, yeah, Carl Brown was very unhappy. I can only imagine that was true. Well, listen, I'm not going to try to ply any more information of you, but I want to say to you, we're very excited that you're going on this trip. We want to hear all about it. I'm going to have you back on a night, Mike, when you get back, and you're going to tell us everything about it. And you're going to know so much more then than you are now. And I'll guarantee you that when you get back, you will be planning your next trip.
Right.
I'm pretty sure of that. Robin says Carl was unhappy, but his wife would have gladly gotten into trouble with us. But no, I'm telling you that when you get back, you will be planning your next trip. It is contagious. It's infectious. It's something you don't get out of your system. I've seen a few people. I had a gal who went with me to Kenya one time, and somebody asked her when she got back, "Are you going? Are you going back?" And she went, "No, I've seen it." So I don't think she had the best experience. But I think you guys are doing something that's going to be with you forever.
Yeah.
And you're going to be planning your next trip, or you're going to be looking for some other opportunity. And I'm really tickled to death for you, because our motto at the church is win, equip, and send. And so we always are excited when somebody from our fellowship decides to go and to be a part of reaching the world. And I'm very excited about it. There's Auntie B, Alberta. She's in here. She's made a couple of trips overseas, if I remember correctly. And so have a great time. I'm going to take 1 minute before we go off the air, and I'm going to say, at the top of your screen, there is a QR code which you can scan with your cell phone, and I know you've all got one. Scan it with your phone, and you can send these kids $1 or $2 or $100 or $2, and support them in their journey. And if you're one of those people like my wife who does not have a cell phone because she thinks they're the spawn of Satan, you can use the address at the bottom of the page, and I'm going to drone on for a minute so you can copy it down if you haven't yet, and you can reach their page where they're raising funding for Kenya. And remember, each of the girls needs to raise $1,900 each, but they need more than that, because they're going to be buying crayons and medicines and first aid stuff and all of that stuff. And your mom just popped in here and says, and they'll be equipping the church in Kenya. And boy,
Cuba.
I'm sorry, what did I say? Kenya? Maybe you got your visas wrong. Maybe you're going to Kenya. No, you're going to Cuba. And that's exciting. And I want to hear all about your interactions with the teens when you're there. I think that's the part I'm most interested in. All right, this has been Anna and Abigail Chechile. They are headed to Cuba during the month of July 5th through the 11th. They are going to come back after they get home. They're going to tell us all about it. In the meantime, we're going to be praying for you guys that you have an amazing trip, that you have a life-changing trip, and you have a trip that changes other lives while you're there. Okay? All right. Bye-bye. I really appreciate you being on here.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's been great. Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Bye.
Yeah.